last lesson of the year. I've already told you I think I'll make this unit more important next year, and I'd probably, if I was giving you a proper test, have some kind of a vocabulary matching section. On Wednesday, all I'm going to do is give you a few simple, really, your test is going to be a few of these to fill in, starting from fairly simple to more complicated. Okay? But, some terms. A mortgage is a special type of loan that's used to purchase some type of property. And the property itself is used as collateral. What do we mean by collateral? If you default on the loan, they'll get this instead. And ideally, the collateral is worth more than the mortgage, so that the bank has some incentive to make a loan to someone who's high risk. The person borrowing the money is called the mortgager. Mortgagor, I don't know how you even say that. It's mortgager and mortgagee. The bank is the mortgagee. By the way, you may have noticed this G here is silent. It's not mortgage.
Shouldn't be the T silent? It's mortgage, not mortgage.
Sorry, the T is silent. You're right. Thank you. You guys are English 12. Well done. Amortization. So, to amortize a mortgage, guys, put it away. Okay? I think it's mine, is it not? Yeah, Darren, can you put it away completely so it's not a temptation? Thank you. To amortize a mortgage is to repay a mortgage in equal periodic payments over a given period of time. Most of you are going to buy a house, and your house is going to be $250,000, $300,000, $400,000. It's going to be a chunk of change, and most of you will not have that cash sitting around. So what you will do is you will tell the bank, I'll pay this off over 25 years. You will amortize it. You'll pay it off in equal payments. The amortization period is the time it would take to completely pay off the mortgage, if the interest and the periodic payments remained constant. Common periods, 15, 20 years, 25 years is the most common one, unless you're making enough coin that you can pay it off sooner. The term is the length of time the mortgagee agrees to make the mortgage payments. In the past, the term of the mortgage and the amortization period were the same thing. Today, because interest rates fluctuate so much and banks want to make more money, the term of the mortgage has taken on a different meaning. So, let's suppose Darian's going to buy a house. And just for nice round numbers, let's make it an even $500,000. He's going to take out a 25-year mortgage. But his first set of the loan might be a 3-year term where the bank sets the interest rates fixed. And the reason they're doing that is interest rates right now are so low, the banks think the interest rates in 7 or 8 years are going to be higher, and they want to gouge you for more money. So rather than let you set a 25-year term with incredibly low interest rates so that maybe 10 years from now, the interest rates might be at 12% and you're still paying 2%, and that's money they're losing, the term will be much shorter. It'll be 3 years or 4 years, and your mortgage comes due and you refinance your mortgage. Does that make sense? That's how it's done nowadays. So, at the end of the term, a new mortgage agreement is negotiated with the lending institution. A new amortization period may result with a different interest rate. By Canadian law, in Canada, Julia, we regulate mortgages much more significantly than in the U.S. That's why in that housing bubble crash in 2008, we did okay. We still got pulled down because the whole world economy tanked. But you may have seen in the U.S., it's still bad. There are sections you can drive through in Detroit where there's thousands of abandoned houses that were bought for $200,000, $300,000, and the people just walked away from them because it turned out that their house was worth less than just defaulting on the loan. It was easier to just default on the loan and go bankrupt. So we have much more regulation in Canada. Mortgage interest must be calculated at most semi-annually. They can't calculate it monthly or daily. They can go yearly or semi-annually. Therefore, for mortgages, the compound payments per year on your calculator, C/Y, will always be 2. Most of the time, the payments per year is every month, 12. and payments are made at the end of the month. So if you haven't already, now that Ben found that submenu, if you go into your financial menu right now, here, and then go to compound interest, which is F2, and then hit shift setup, and make sure that the payments are set up for the end of the month. Everybody get there? Okay. Complete the chart, it says. A 3-year mortgage at 5.25%, amortized over 25 years. What's the amortization period? 25. By the way, the abbreviation for years is actually a lowercase a for annually, not Y. Y is taken by something else. What's the term? 3. And this is the give and take, this is the gambling that if your parents have a mortgage or if you have friends that have a mortgage that you do, you're going to say, oh, you know what? I think interest rates are going to go down in 2 years. I'm going to finance my loan for a short term. Or I think interest rates are going to go up in the next 4 years. I'm going to see as big a term as I can get out of the bank. Will they give me 5 years at this interest rate? This is why parents or adults are so much more interested in things like interest rates and stock markets, because that can be a lot of cash that you can save or end up paying. What's the amortization period for B? A mortgage negotiated for 5 years at 4.2%. If payments are continued at this rate, the loan will be paid off in 15 years. The amortization period is 15 years. The term is 5. So let's run some numbers. Just turn the page. Justin and Jennifer bought a house in Ridge Acres. Hey, that sounds like us. For $300,000. They made a 20% down payment, and they negotiated a 5-year mortgage. That's the term. At 3.82% per annum, compounded semi-annually. The mortgage is amortized over 25 years. So what's the amortization period here? 25 years. What's the term of the mortgage? 5. What's the amount of the down payment? Well, it's going to be 20% of 300,000. You may recall I said to you, what does of almost always mean? Times. And I can't do math with a percent. I got to make it a decimal. So you can do this in your head, or if you're someone who has to use your calculator, 0.2 times 300,000. $60,000. That part there, the bigger you can get this, the better. If you can start at your young age, even putting $50 a month away into in fact, you can put it into an RRSP because you're allowed to withdraw for your first house only. You're allowed to withdraw money from an RRSP, and I think it's still tax-free. Dump it into an RRSP. If you can, in 5 or 6 years, have $15,000 or $20,000 untouched, huge savings when you buy your first house. What's the amount to be financed? Then $240,000 is what they're borrowing. And of course, Amrit, the question everyone wants to know is not how much am I paying. What they want to know, Rachel, is what are the monthly payments? Because that's how you can budget. So B says, complete the following using the TVM solver to explain why, to find out what the monthly payment is. So I'm going to go menu, TVM solver, compound interest. All right. It's going to be 25 years, and your payments are every 12 months. Sorry, every month, 12 times a year. So N is 300 times. What's the interest rate? 3.82. Okay. We are making a payment. So since we're making a payment, that's money that we're putting out. Let's call it negative. Okay? We don't know what it is. That's what we're trying to figure out. Let's put a 0 there temporarily. Sorry, I put a present value 0. 0 for payment. Sorry. Okay? present value. How much are we borrowing? So we are getting from the bank $240,000 positive, but we should end up getting a negative payment because we're putting money out. What do we want the final value to be if we paid off this loan? 0. How many payments per year? Monthly? 12. But what's the compound period? How many compound periods per year? What's the maximum they're allowed to do under Canadian law? 2. So, what's the payment per month? F4. Okay? So if you're planning on buying this, you'd have to be able to afford at least that, because that doesn't include electricity and cable and utilities and property tax and all the holy smokes, there's a leak in the roof. So really you'd probably mentally budget at least $1,500 or higher per month. $2,000 if you're playing it really safe. Okay? So $1,239.14. $1,239.14. I'll put a negative there because that's what our calculator said. Negative because that's what we're losing. That's the money we're putting out. So, if this continues for the whole 25 years, what are they paying for the house? Well, they're putting down originally $60,000. And then there's going to be 300 payments of how much? $1,239.14. How much are they actually going to be paying? So let's go to my calculator. 60,000 plus 300 payments a month, $1,239.14. So their $300,000 house is going to be costing them how much? It adds up. Okay? Now, here's what you're hoping, Mackenzie. You're hoping that as your loan, the amount you've paid increases, the value of your house increases faster. What happened in the U.S. was this. The amount of the loan increased faster than the houses, and that's why so many people, they walk to, oh, I've got a house that's worth $110,000, I owe $300,000, I'm walking away, the bank can take it as collateral, and yeah, it's going to cost, the bank will have to eat the 180 grand. Okay. Well, banks can't do that. Not when one person, sure, but when in the U.S. tens of thousands of people started doing that, well, you saw the government had to bail out a number of the banks. They had to say, okay, and it was the bank's fault. They weren't careful in who they loaned money to. But there you go. 431,742. Okay. After the 5-year term, how many years? The mortgage is up for renewal. What's the amount left? Okay, let's go back to our TVM. How many years? So now N is 5 times 12. Okay. We've got our payments in here now, though. So it's going to be 5 times 12, or 60. Interest rate is still going to be 3.82. We're starting out with a present value of $240,000. The payment is negative $1,239.14. What we want to figure out is what the final value after 5 years is. How much more do I have left to refinance? Oh, payments per year, still 12. Compound periods per year, still 2. So I'm going to go to my calculator, and under final value, where I have a 0 right now anyways, instead, for 60 payments for 5 years, I want to figure out what my final value is now. How can I figure that out? F what? F5? Is that okay, Liz? Yep. So I'm still owing how much? $208,269.12. I'll call that a positive answer, but the negative is saying I still owe that much. So 208,269.42. Change colors, Mr. Dueck, so it stands out. 208, 269, 42, 269, 42. Okay. Yep. You got 38? Pause. Now, I get paid twice a month. And so if I was going, I rent, but if I was going for a mortgage, Brianna, I would absolutely take monthly payments. But there's another way people often get paid. What's the other most common way? Dom, you awake? Stay up. Meerkat. What? Bi-weekly. These people, if you're getting paid every 2 weeks, you might actually say, I would rather make my loan payments on a weekly basis or a bi-weekly basis, not on a monthly basis. So E says, describe the changes if Jennifer and Justin choose to pay their mortgage weekly. And what would the weekly payments be? And then you can actually figure out how much more they would save doing it. They would save a lot of money doing it, it turns out. So let's go to our solver. Okay. How many years? Grand total for this loan. What's the amortization period? 25 times weekly. How many weeks in a year? 52. Interest rate doesn't change. Let's start with the full $300,000 that they're getting from the bank. No, $240,000, right? Sorry, $240,000 that they're getting from the bank. Payments, we don't know. We're going to try and figure that out. I'll put a temporary 0 there. What do we want the final value to be if they pay off this loan? 0. How many payments per year? Not 12. 52. Compound per year? Twice a year. What would their payment be now? Substantial, well, okay. Why so low? Well, roughly how many weeks in a month? Roughly? 4. This is roughly the bigger payment divided by 4. But you actually end up saving a lot of money. The more often you can do your payments, the better it is for you, the worse it is for the bank. The less often you do your payments, the longer you take the loan, the more money the bank has coming out of you. Okay? $285.61. $285.61. Says most banks offer an accelerated weekly payment plan if you want it. The weekly payment is calculated by dividing the monthly payment by 4, and the resulting amount is paid weekly. Why does this pay it off faster? Because they start paying off your interest. Those 3 extra payments during the month add up after a while, in that you're having a few extra cents shaved off the interest every time. I'm not going to do a long explanation. Instead, what would the weekly payment be using the accelerated weekly payment plan? It would be the monthly payment divided by 4, which I think is $309.79. Weekly is your best option if you can afford it. But if you can even take your monthly payment and you say, you know what, I can split that into 4 chunks, well, it would look something like this. For the next question, it says, if the interest rate remains the same, how long will it take to pay off the mortgage using the weekly payment plan? All right, So let's go back to our TVM solver. We're still doing, how long is what we're being asked to find? We're being asked to find N. I'll put a temporary Chelsea 0 there. Interest rate is still 3.82. Present value, still starting out with 200 and that. Let's look at if I make a payment negative of 309.79. Why negative? Because that's what I'm paying out. I want to pay it all off. Weekly does mean 52 payments a year. Still compounded every 2 years. What's N? Is it still 300? Oh. But this is that many weeks. This is 1,140.6 weeks. How could I change that to days? Sorry? Take that number and what? Times by 7? Okay, so let me go here. 1140.6 times 7. That many days. How can I change that into years? Divide by 365. How many years will it take them if they go with weekly payments? 25? Less than 22. That's a chunk of change. Okay? Or you can even go 309.79, their weekly payment, times 1140.6, and you can see instead of paying off $400 and some thousand, they're paying off $350 plus the original $60,000. What was our other amount back then? The first time? 400 and what? 431,000. They're saving almost $18,000. That adds up. Last one. Oh, sweaty humans. You okay?
Yeah, I kind of got that calculation.
Okay. Figure out where you zigged or whatever, though? Okay, I'll come look. Let's try this next one. James and Courtney purchased a house for $280,000. They made a $30,000 down payment. Let's figure that out first of all. So the down payment is 30,000, 30% down payment times $280,000. The down payment is 0.3 times $280,000. So they managed to put down $84,000. How much will they have to borrow? They're paying $280. They got a down payment of $84. How much will they need to borrow? How can I figure that out? Meerkat, wake up. You can do it. How much will they have to borrow? How can I figure that out? 280,000 minus 84, which is what? Someone run the numbers. Come on, people. Yeah. $196,000? Okay. So that's going to be the present value of this loan, $196,000. Why positive? Because they're getting that money from the bank. What's the interest rate? $5.25. What's N? 20 years and it's monthly payments, so times 12. Which I think is going to be 240. Payment is what we're trying to figure out. I'll put a temporary 0 there. I'll erase that 0 in a second. What do we want the final value of the loan to be? What do we want the final value of the loan to be? 0. We want to pay it all off. Final value is going to be 0. Okay, Darian, the negative is going to show up in the payments. That's why I did that 0 in red. It's a temporary placeholder right now. Payments per year, monthly, 12. And what did we say? These loans compound per year. What's the Canadian law? 2. Let's assume they're doing at the end of each month. So, let me get into my TVM solver here. $20 times 12, 5.25, 196,000. Payment temporarily 0 as a placeholder. 0, 12 times a year, twice a year, and I want to find the payment. Looks like the payment is going to be $1,314.55. Is that okay, Laura? After the 3-year term, how many years? 3. They renegotiated. Okay, we need to figure out how much they now owe. Well, let's change N. So, 3 years would be 3 times 12 for N. I want to know how much is left to pay off, because they're not paying the loan off in 3 years, but this is still the same monthly payment as before. I'm going to hit final value. After 3 years, they still owe $177,000, $177,877.72. They still owe $177,877.72. That is the 3 times 12, 3 years, and there's my final value. So what's their new loan? What's their new loan? Let's figure it out. What's N? How many years long is their new renegotiated loan?
7.
Careful, that's the term. We want the amortization. 15 years times 12. What's the new interest rate? 3.17. They got a better interest rate. The present value is how much they still owe. They have from the bank 177. They're still ahead from the bank with the amount they've borrowed. That much. What's their payment? Temporarily, Darian, I'll put a 0 there as a placeholder. Oh. Final value. I want to pay off the loan after 15 years. Payments per month. Monthly, 12. Compound periods per year, 2. What will their new monthly payment be? So originally it was $1,314.55. The new payment is going to be, N is 15 times 12, 3.17. Now I'm starting with $177,877.72. Payment, I'll put a temporary 0 there. I want the final value to be 0. 12 payments per year, 2 compound periods per year. What's my payment now? Hey, a little better. They just picked up for free an extra $60 of income per month that they can then spend on other stuff or reinvest into their loan or something. This is why you refinance. So $1,241.20. You need to practice this. Wednesday, I'm going to be giving you probably in the final half hour of class 15 or so mark test. just to tweak your grade. Heck, call it a quest. It's really half a quiz, half a test. It'll count as a test, and it'll be using lesson 1, lesson 2, and lesson 3. I won't be putting mortgages on your test, even though it's useful and interesting, because I just showed it to you, Rachel. You haven't had a chance to work through this and ask me questions. But everything up to and including lesson 3 on Wednesday, it'll probably be a 1-page test front and back, pretty short. It'll be lots of using your TVM calculator. Okay? What's your homework right now? Try number 1. I'll say try 2A. That's a lot of work. Three A is good. Four is good. 4A certainly. 4B is good. 4C is good. 4 is good. Everything there is nice. Five works. Most of you, your first purchase will probably be a condo. Seven. I skipped 6. And I think I'll pause there.